This video is about frequency polygons, which also comes under the heading of statistics. So let's start with the definition of frequency polygons first. So it is defined as the frequency polygons frequency polygon is a line graph which is drawn by plotting frequencies against the midpoint of the classes. So the underlined word here are drawn by plotting frequencies against the midpoint of the classes. So that means midpoint of the classes means this frequency polygon is always applied in case of the group data. And whenever we have group data, we always have the classes. In case of this question, what we'll do is we'll first find the midpoints of the classes, and after finding midpoints of the classes, then we'll move on to finding the or drawing the frequency polygon. So let's pick one example to understand this further. Okay. Now, in this given example, if we may read the situation, it says the 50 students were also asked how long they each took to travel to school. The results are summarized in the below table. So this is about the 50 students who were asked how long they each took to travel to school. And this is the grouped data we have got for their frequencies in terms of time time in minutes. So we have to draw the frequency polygon here. So as defined earlier, we should be having the midpoint of all the classes. So first we have to find the midpoint of all these classes, and then we'll plot the frequency polygon. So finding the midpoints first. So for the very first class, it's from 4 till 6. The mid here would be 4 plus 6 upon 2, which is a 5. Second class 6 till 8. So 6 plus 8 divided by 2, that's 14 upon 2, which is 7. 8 plus 10 upon 2, that's a 16. 16 upon 2, that's 18 upon 2, that's a 9. And for the last class, it's 11. So we need to plot these points as the x coordinate representing the midpoint and y coordinate representing the frequency. So 5, 21 would be the first point. Second point would be 7, 11. Third point would be 9, 13. Fourth point would be 11, 5. All right. So before plotting the points, we have to scale the x-axis here. It goes from 4 till 12. So 4 till 12 means it would be, if we make the scale as 2, 4, 6, 8, and 12. So that would cover the whole graph. So the first point, 5 and 21. So 5 and 21 means it would be somewhere here. Second point, 7, 11. So 7, 11 would be, sorry, 5 comma 21, I plotted it wrong. 5 comma 21 would be here. 7 comma 11, it has to be somewhere here. 9 comma 13, it should be here. And then 11 comma 5, it has to be here. So this is how we plot the points, and now we need to join all these points. After joining these points, what we do is this has to start and end at certain point. So the very first point would be joined to the very first limit, or the or the lower limit of the first class, which is 4. And for the last point, we join it to the upper limit of the last class. So upper limit of the last class means it would be joined till 12. So this is how we draw the frequency polygon. Okay. And then sometimes we could be asked to draw 2 or more polygons on the same set of axes, and we'd be required to do some comparative analysis about the 2 different data sets or the 2 different frequency polygons drawn. To explain this, let me pick one more question. Okay, so here is the question. Okay, so in case of this question, as the question says, some students were asked how long they had each uh, spent doing homework the day before. The results are summarized in tables. So what they did is they collected the data for girls and boys separately. So they have these class intervals as time in terms of hours, and frequency is segregated for both girls and boys. So we have the frequency for girls, frequency for boys. And like what we did earlier, we first need to find the midpoint of all the classes. So for both these data sets, for both these distributions of girls and boys, we would be finding the midpoint of all these classes first. All right, so finding the midpoint of 0 and 0.5 would be a 0.25. Between 0.5 and 1, it would be a 0.75. 1 and 1.5, that would be a 1.25. 1.5 and 2, that would be a 1.75. 2 and 2.5, that would be a 2.25. 2.5 and 3, that would be a 2.75. After finding the midpoint, we'll plot the frequency polygons for both these data sets one by one. So let's do it for the girls first. The points to be plotted would be 0.25 and 0, the first point. So 0.25 and 0, this is where the first point should be plotted. Second point, 0.75 and 1. Okay, before plotting all the points, we have to scale the y-axis also. We missed it out. Scaling the y-axis, we have the frequencies going up till 8. We have to make sure we get all this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now we can start plotting the points. So the first point was 0.25 and 0. So it would be here. Yeah, 0.25 and 0. Second point, it would be 0.75 and 5. 0.75 and 5 would be here. 1.25 and 8. 1.25 and 8 has to be here. Then we have 1.75 and 6. 1.75 and 6 would be here. 2.25 and a 0. So 2.25 and a 0 would be here. And then 2.75 and 1. 2.75 and 1 should be here. So let's join all these points first. First line. Second line. Third line. Fourth line, and as discussed earlier, we'll now join these points to the upper limit and the lower limit of the first and the last class. So for the last point, we'll join to the upper limit of the last class. And for the very first point, we'll join it to the lower limit of the first class. So lower limit of the first class. It's already there at 0 only. So this represents the polygon for the girls. Now polygon for the boys. To keep it differentiated, I am picking up a different color for representing boys. So for boys, we have blue. First point for boys, it's 0.25 and 3. So 0.25 and 3, it's here. 0.75 and 3. 0.75 and 3, it's here. 1.25 and 4. 1.25 and 4 has to be here. 1.75 and 5. 1.75 and 5 has to be here. And then 2.25 and 3. 2.25 and 3. 2.75 and 2. 2.75 and 2. All right. We just need to join all these points together. And the first point would be joined to the lower limit of the first class, which is a 0. And the last point would be joined to the upper limit of the last class. Yeah, so we have got the frequency polygons for both girls and boys. Part B says write down the model group of the girls. Model group for the girls. So model group or the model class, we know that it's always the one which is having the highest frequency. So looking at the distribution of the girls, you can clearly see that this is the highest frequency 8. And this frequency belongs to the class where T is from 1 till 1.5. So the model class here is T, it's from 1 till 1.5. Part C. Make a comment comparing the distribution of the times spent by the girls with the time spent by the boys. Now, it's a 1 mark part, and for 1 mark part, you just need to make one statement. So here there can be a number of different possible answers. Different possible answers means one of the possible answers is that mode of girls is higher than the boys. That's one possible answer. Mode of girls is higher than boys. That's one possible answer. We can see it from the graph where the mode of girls is and where the mode of boys is. Second is we can see that majority of the girls spent more time in the slot 1 till 1.5 hour, 1 till 1.5 hours, whereas boys were more consistent and they were more near this they were maintaining this frequency around 3 throughout. So generally speaking, we can say majority of the girls spent majority of the girls spent time between 1 and 1.5 hours. Majority of the girls spent time between 1 and 1.5 hours. And for boys were more consistent as compared to girls because you can see for all these classes, boys were having the frequency around 3. For all these distributed classes, boys were having the frequency of around 3. So boys were more consistent. More consistent as compared to girls across all the classes. These are different possible answers, and you're not required to write all these answers. You just need to write one of these 3 possible answers. So that concludes the frequency polygon.